Welcome to the Superstar Communicator podcast. My name is Susan Heaton-Wright, a leading impact, speaking and communications expert. My aim is to show you how to make an impact so you will be heard, listened to and respected for career success. Listen weekly to the podcast and go to our website, superstarcommunicator.com. Welcome everybody, this is Susan Heaton-Wright from Superstar Communicator. I hope you are looking after yourselves and all of those around you that you love, your friends, your family, because in this crisis we need to make sure that we're safe and we remain healthy. And I want to meet you in person in future when this is all over, because we've got such a strong connection here on podcast. As you know, during the crisis, I have been focused on providing you with support, providing with you with ideas and inspiration. And this episode is no exception. It is with a great honor that I have on the other end of Wi-Fi fellow Fentrepreneur 100 2020, Gillian Jones-Williams. Now, for those people who've forgotten, or perhaps I haven't told you enough, both Gillian and myself were honored to be named as a top 100 inspirational female entrepreneur in 2020. And Gillian, like me, like many of you, has had to have a massive change in their work environment and their business. And Gillian is going to inspire us with some of the things that she's doing. So Gillian, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's a real pleasure to, through Fentrepreneur, been able to meet somebody again in my line of business. So thank you for inviting me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So Gillian, how has the crisis impacted your life and in particular your business?
Exponentially, Susan. It's been a business that I founded 25 years ago, yes. And I've had the pleasure over those 25 years of working, training and coaching people all around the world. We do leadership development, we do coaching, we do organizational change, and particularly focus on women's development. And coming into this year, it was so exciting. We had a great forward order book. We had the I also nomination for the Fentrepreneur, and I thought, wow, 2020 is really going to be our year. And I'm sure it still will be, but it certainly has changed everything. And it started in March for me. I remember being skiing, and ironically, I was skiing up until the night that they closed France for lockdown, and we had to get out of there, when gradually my business fell off a cliff. Every single day I was skiing, I was getting cancellations because, like you, all of our work was face-to-face.
Yes. Yeah, it was really tough. I mean, I have to say that I did a little bit of virtual coaching, but like you, and we know that training face-to-face is the ultimate experience, isn't it, for learning?
Yeah, and particularly with the women's development program that we ran, it was so important to be in the room with the ladies so that they could really open up and, you know, connect with each other. And so it was just, it was a really awful thing to watch, actually. I thought that maybe Brexit might be, you know, the end of us, but certainly not a virus.
No. I don't think anybody had anticipated that, particularly Boris Johnson, when he fulfilled his life-held ambition to be Prime Minister.
No, absolutely not.
But how have you coped with this? Because in a way, there is a sense of mourning when you lose all of that from your business, isn't there?
Absolutely. And, I'm going to be very frank here. When it first happened, and I talk a lot about resilience and stress, I crashed. I mean, I literally, had one of those moments where you just hit the floor and you
Yeah,
think, I don't know what to do because this has been taken out of our control.
yeah,
And I could see, my business disappearing in front of me. I have staff, I have premises, I
yes,
have high overheads to cover.
yeah,
And it was just, for me at that moment, it was quite overwhelming.
yes,
Um, but like everybody, once you've had the crash, you've got to pick yourself up, haven't you? And then you have to start making decisions about what you're going to do and how this experience is going to be for you. And
yeah,
I knew that I was going to be locked down for 12 weeks because I also have, I have some conditions which mean that I needed to shield. And
yes.
it was incomprehensible, Susan. 3 months of my life was going to be taken away inside this house. How was I going to cope with it?
Yeah. So what did you do?
Well, almost immediately. And looking back, I don't know what made me do it so quickly, because I know some people say it took them a few weeks. I looked at the things which help me most when things are difficult. One of those is routine,
Mm,
and the other is to have goals.
yes,
And so I very, very quickly decided to make myself a routine which would help me to stay very focused, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning like I always did, exercising for an hour because we could now, and wanting to be out when people weren't around,
yeah,
and then working. And I set myself some goals, and I've written a couple of books in the past on coaching and coaching culture.
yeah.
And I've always wanted to write another book, but I've been so busy. I don't know about everybody else. Work takes over, doesn't it? And your
It was.
intention to do these things, you never get round to it. So I set my goals for my 12 weeks while I was in lockdown around health, around personal development, around pivoting my business and getting it back online. And one of those goals was to write a book.
Wow. And how are you getting on with this?
Well,
That's the golden question.
it is a golden question. And actually, at the moment, I've written about 120,000 words.
Wow.
And so part of me thinks I'm going to need to stop because well, not stop, but slow down a bit. I decided to write a book actually on COVID-19.
Yes.
And I wanted to write a book which was a bit about our experience of it, but a record of some of the extraordinary, funny, disappointing, sad, and just absolutely incredible things which happened. And I wanted to write it on a daily basis so that there was a record just of how things changed so rapidly and
Yes.
things happened. So I decided to write for half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night. So in the morning, it would be more about what was happening in the world, in my life, our life, other people's lives. And in the evening, I would write about the briefing with the Prime Minister and what we were being told to do, what was happening.
That's incredible. So have you got a publisher for this book? I bet you have. You're that sort of person. You
Well,
know, yeah. I just
um,
it's in my blood.
yeah, it's funny because I've got some publishers that I work with and that I coach. I know a lot of people in publishing,
Yes.
but one of the issues that I have at the moment is that the publishers aren't really publishing much this year because of furloughs and everything else. So I've got a fifth edition of one of my books which should have gone out this year, and that's on hold.
Oh,
So one of my publisher friends said to me, "You could be better off self-publishing," because the reason I wanted to write this book, and if I could publish it and get some income from it,
yeah.
was not for me, but I wanted to set up a fund for the families of people in the NHS who have lost lives, from those people working in the
Oh,
NHS. So I don't really want to have to wait till next year
no.
to get a publisher to do it. So that's my next thing. And a big thanks to one of the Fontrepreneur ladies who has offered to help me with a jacket. I've also found somebody else who's a bit of an expert in self-publishing.
Yes.
So we'll be looking at that. And then I'll be looking to find the services of some great PR branding people who
Yes.
are perhaps willing to get involved in the project and help get it out there.
That sounds absolutely superb. And isn't it interesting that this community that you and I are privileged to be part of, that there are people willing to support you in this, just as I am by, doing the podcast.
Absolutely, Susan. It's greatly appreciated, from you and from other people, because I think after I started to write the book as a bit of a record, and it was slightly cathartic, and it was also a strategy for me to stop myself getting so emotionally involved in the news.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I had to write it, it helped me in some ways. And then I started thinking, I was looking at, I completely fell in love with Colonel Tom, and he features a lot in the book there. But, and I thought, that's amazing. What could I possibly do? I can't go out, I can't deliver food to people. I did sign up to be a volunteer coach for NHS staff, but, I couldn't do anything else from inside my house.
No.
This was the only thing I could think of then.
Well, it's absolutely incredible. And you have hit the nail on the head of a fund that is so powerful, because we don't know the backgrounds of the people who have died working for the NHS during this terrible time. And we don't know if it was the main breadwinner that died, or whether they were supporting other members of the family, or even coming up, dare I say it, with funeral expenses.
Exactly. Or getting themselves into debt.
Yes.
And even if it was only to provide enough money for some of them to take kids on a nice day, or, if we could I'd love to think that we could generate a lot of income for them to have a holiday or do something which would make them feel remembered, because my fear is that everybody at the moment is so, fantastically grateful to everything that they do. And in a year's time, will we all go back to normal? Will people have forgotten? But they will still have lost people, and they will still be in need.
Yes. I see some analogy with the awful Grenfell fire.
Yes.
And there was some money a fund set up for the children that had lived there, and also the children of the firefighters.
Absolutely.
And they went on some lovely holidays, and you could see them just running on the beach and laughing.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful what you've decided to do. It really is.
Thank you very much. And so, and it's been really helpful to me. As I said, I have got to the point now where, I've written 120,000 words, which is pretty much what a normal book might be, between 120 and 180,000. I'm probably in need also of a great editor to help me to cut it down. I keep going back through it and thinking, gosh, what can I start to cut down? Because I considered I'd be writing this for 12 weeks. And then maybe we'd be coming out of lockdown, and I could hopefully give you a good news story of the fact that my business survived, and it was a tale of survival, and also, get to the point where the country was out in the streets having a massive, great big party. Now, clearly, that's not going to happen now, and it's almost quite difficult to know where the book should end.
That is an interesting one. I suppose you could do what's next.
Yes.
Coping with this new world.
Yes.
Listeners, if you've got any ideas, let us know.
Please, anybody who can help in any way, shape or form. As I said, I've always published my books through publishers, so everything has been taken care of before. So this is a totally new venture for me to even consider self-publishing.
I can think of a couple of people that I'll introduce you to, Gillian.
Thank you very much.
But getting back to the podcast and one thing that I always ask people is 3 top tips. Now, in your case, 3 top tips with coping with being in lockdown as a shielded person.
Yes, I think that number one, having a routine and sticking to it. And some people hate that because they're not routine people.
Yeah.
However, it has become my absolute lifeline. It's what keeps me productive, knowing that I will work between 8:30 and 5, have a break with my husband for lunch. I will do my writing in the morning, and the evening I will do my exercise, and then weekends, which I've never ever had before, weekends off, have weekends off and do other things inside the house. So
Yeah.
that's been my first tip. I think the second tip is about these future goals
Yeah.
and thinking about not what you can't control, but what you can control. And I've had to focus very much on what can I do right now? And in the first month or so, I realized what we could do right now. We couldn't get work from our customers. They were all far too busy trying to cope with setting up people, looking after people. So we just put out masses of free content,
Yes.
challenges for children, webinars and things that could help them there. But I think it goes back to what your business is, Susan, and communication, and just communicating to them and saying to them, how are you? How are you doing?
Yes.
And just having chats.
Yeah.
And I think the third tip is to really, really believe. And I remember not long into this all happening, I was going for one of my long early morning walks and I was listening to a song and I heard the words, because when you lose everything, you've got nothing more to lose. And that was a real turning point for my business, because I suddenly realized I've been focusing so much on how much we'd lost, that if I could consider us as a startup,
Yes.
and what would we do with our business if this was new now? Because that was it. That's what we had. What new products? And then it became fun. And, I think it helped the team a lot as well.
Oh, that's so inspiring. That almost, because we've got a new way of working, we're startups. I love
Yes.
that. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. That's so inspirational. And I know that there will be some people listening to this who are in this situation that are business owners like you and me. And I think that's an absolute gem. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Gillian, before we finish the podcast, I know that there will be some people who will want to get in contact with you. How can they get in contact with you? Have you got a specific website for this book, or you go to your business website?
No, I don't have a specific website for the book, so that's
You
another
will
thing.
do.
We could be working on, couldn't we, Susan? So if you want to contact me, I'm happy to put my email address out. I'd love to hear from people personally. So my work email address is gillian.jones with a J at emerge, which is emerge.uk.com. So if anybody has any help, any advice, anything at all, then would love to hear from them. And thank you for the opportunity to get it out there, Susan. I think you're doing really fantastic work there.
Oh, thank you very much. We're all wanting to support people, aren't we?
Yes.
And let's see, listeners, if we can support Gillian with this incredible project. I believe it's really, really going to inspire people as they start their startup lives and their startup businesses.
Yes.
Oh, so thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add, Gillian?
Just to reiterate what you said at the beginning to everybody, to stay safe, look after yourself, appreciate what you have in life, because I think this has made us all realize how quickly it could be taken away from us. So, keep it safe.
Oh, what a great way to finish. Gillian, thank you so much for taking some time out of your writing and your busy day at home. And thank you very much. We will all support you, listeners, won't we?
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, everybody. Thank you, Gillian. And until next time, this is Susan Heaton-Wright from Superstar Communicator. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Superstar Communicator podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and review the podcast on iTunes and on apps. Please contact us if you want to discuss any topic, could suggest a topic for us to include, or a guest who could come onto the podcast. Go to superstarcommunicator.com.